Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised. Is it okay for my husband and I to make out when we're trying to avoid pregnancy and during the fertile window and abstaining from sex? I get this question a lot, so let's dive in and answer it. Welcome to Charting Toward Intimacy, the sex and intimacy podcast for Catholic women. My name is Ellen Holloway, and I'm a Catholic speaker and coach who specializes in sex and marital intimacy. And I am on a mission to help you actually enjoy and desire good, holy sex with your spouse. All right, so let's talk about making out and if it is okay and not okay. There's more to this question than just a yes or a no. So I'm not going to give you a yes or a no. You're going to have to answer that yes or no for yourself. So let's talk about sexual arousal and what the point of sexual arousal is and what sexual arousal really is. So sexual arousal has a purpose. Sexual arousal is for the purpose of preparing the body to have sex. A man's body is prepared to have sex by the penis becoming erect. A woman's body is prepared to have sex by the vaginal opening actually widens and the vaginal canal actually elongates. This is preparing for the penis to enter the body. Sexual arousal moves the body toward that purpose. So it has this function of preparing the body for sex. As such, sexual arousal doesn't make sense unless you are preparing to then have sex. If you purposefully sexually arouse each other, you and your husband, and then purposefully not have sex after that, you have frustrated the natural purpose of sexual arousal, which is preparing the body for sex. It also creates some difficulties for men, particularly if they get too far along in the sexual arousal curve. It can actually create a very uncomfortable buildup of semen, known as the, kind of colloquial crass name for this is blue balls. This is incredibly uncomfortable for men. And it's just, if you kind of think about that and how uncomfortable it is, that is a physical manifestation, a physical sign of the invisible frustration that is happening in our souls when we sexually arouse each other and then don't then take that sexual arousal toward having sex. So now then we get a lot of kind of questions of like, well, how far is too far? At what point do we need to stop? Well, here's the thing. The point of sexual arousal is for having sex. So if you're becoming sexually aroused and you're not planning on having sex, that's the point at which you need to stop. It's okay if the sexual arousal was unintentional. What's not okay is if you become sexually aroused and then you continue doing that thing that got you sexually aroused without intending to have sex. Now, if you got sexually aroused and maybe you weren't intending to have sex, but then you initiate and change, your course of action, then that's perfectly fine as well. So now let's go back to the question at hand. Is making out without having sex okay? Well, what's happening when you're making out? Are you becoming sexually aroused? Are you doing an action that is better suited for foreplay directly leading up to sex? These are questions you need to ask yourselves, and you need to sit down and have a really good conversation about it. Because I think it might be different for different couples. But what we ultimately need to remember is that sexual arousal has a purpose. It's to prepare ourselves for sex. And so if we are becoming sexually aroused and sex is off the table, if we're trying to abstain, then we need to stop doing whatever that action was, whether it was making out or getting a foot rub or a massage or whatever, right? Sexual arousal has a purpose. And that purpose is awesome. It's amazing. But we do need to recognize that it is unfair to ourselves, to our bodies, to our souls when we frustrate that natural purpose of sexual arousal. This was a super short episode because it had a super quick question and a quick answer to it. But now that you're here at the end of the episode, I want to tell you about the brand new course that I created called Let's Talk About It. I wanted to create a resource for you to be able to find the words and the tools and garner up the courage to have good conversations about sex and be able to get your sex life to the point that you actually want it to be. And one of those things that you need to do in order to get your sex life to where you want it to be is to be able to talk about it. I feel like time and time again, when people email me with questions about something to do with their sex life, my first response is, have you talked about this with your husband? And a lot of times the answer is no, because we don't really know how to say the words and we don't have the tools to start the conversation, or we're nervous and scared about how that conversation is going to be. This course speaks into all of that. You're going to get the confidence that you need to be able to start these conversations. You're going to have the tools, and you're going to have the frameworks for 7 essential conversations that every Catholic couple should have about sex. So it is at vinesandfullbloom.com/let's talk, or click the link in the show notes for the brand new course, Let's Talk About It. Thanks so much for listening. If you are not already following us on Instagram, be sure to check us out at Charting Toward Intimacy. And if you listen to podcasts on a platform that gives you the option to rate or review, we'd love for you to do that because it helps us spread the word about the podcast. If you ever have questions, comments, or episode topic ideas, please reach out to us. We love to hear from you. You can reach out on Instagram or send us an email. Our email is in the show notes. Until next time.